Well, it's been 4 months since my last in-depth Citrus video, which you should watch if you haven't already, and now it's finally come to an end after about a 5-year run. These final chapters don't change my opinion of the overall series, and to quickly summarize that last video, this may be a niche series, and that's already going to put a lot of people off.
You're both girls! Girls can't love girls! Girls can't love girls! Girls can't love girls!
But I'd say if you're interested or like romantic dramas, you should definitely give Citrus a chance by starting with the 12-episode anime or the manga. So this isn't exactly a review, but more of a follow-up from where we last left off, and my opinions on these last few chapters. Okay, now that we're finished with that, we'll be discussing chapter 36 onwards, therefore spoiler warnings. If you haven't read these chapters yet and would not like to be spoiled, now's your chance to stop the video. Just for context, Volume 9, Chapter 36. Honestly, this chapter destroyed me emotionally, to the point where I figured I had to make a YouTube video about Citrus. Yuzu and Mei don't seem to be an item anymore, due to circumstances, and that separation is hard on them. It's a strong chapter which gets the characters' emotions across, without having to use words aside from Mei's narration, which at this point is insightful since the reader's kept in the dark about Mei's motives and thoughts so far. It's one of my favourite chapters out of this series, and the next chapter had big boots to fill. So after a long 2-month wait, here's Volume 10, Chapter 37. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't feel very exciting, especially after that emotional blow. Most of the pages are dedicated to Harumin and Matsuri talking, and they're going over information we've already been told and could infer from the previous chapter. It's not like it's visually impressive either, it's stock standard stuff sitting down in a cafe. The characters still look good, but it's nothing we haven't seen before. The last few pages we cut to Yuzu, who gets a call from the twins. Yes, those twins most readers hated. And they're coming down to visit. It's nice to see Saburo Uta hasn't forgotten about them, even if they were at the bottom of my liked characters list. But aside from that, nothing happens at all. If we got rid of the cafe talk, pushed the twins reveal back to the start, and had to focus on the chapter beyond them, it probably would have been much more engaging. However, what we're given is underwhelming, especially for a 2-month wait. Chapter 38. Now this is where the ball starts rolling again. With the arrival of the twins, we've got a set of characters who aren't fully aware of the situation, so they can really probe into Yuzu and bring her feelings into the light. And that is exactly what they do. There's also a bit of comedy which is pleasant because it's been painful and just dull these last 2 chapters respectively. But really what we get is nice build up towards a conclusion. This is where things are slowly getting into motion, and this is what the last chapter should have been. Next is chapter 39. Things are starting to happen now. This is the coming out chapter, and Yuzu's parents take her lesbian love for her stepsister rather easily. Well, maybe it's a tad little unrealistic. Any other unnecessary drama would have just killed the pacing right now. The coming out moments are heartwarming and really focus on how Yuzu's relationships with the characters have led up to this pivotal moment. It's not any longer than the usual chapter, but it feels packed with positive emotion and is generally fun to read. It's a big moment for Yuzu that is delivered with energy and again builds hype for the arc's conclusion. Okay, things are spicing up real fast now for chapter 40. This is the second last chapter, so whatever plan Yuzu been thinking up now is the time to act. A lot of the theories back then were that Yuzu was somehow going to rock up to the wedding at the last moment, just like that scene in Shrek. A very tropey and overdone idea, but what we got here isn't too far off, unfortunately. What I really liked about this chapter is that it brought pretty much every character back minus the twins who revived a few chapters ago. It's cool seeing these characters repay Yuzu in some sort of way and generally shows off the love Saburo Uta puts into these characters. It also gets more dramatic after each page and is a real thrill to read. And then we're left with the cliffhanger, just as Yuzu has found Mei. It kind of was a wedding crashing with Mei and the manager about to sign marriage papers or something like that. It's a bit disappointing and I wish there was another creative way to go about it, but it's still dramatic, albeit overused. Before we continue, let's just look back on my thoughts about this arc. This arc had a lot of highs and lows. It starts incredibly strong and impactful before becoming slow towards the middle. As we get to the end, Citrus begins to pick up the pace again and push that sweet teenage drama. To be blunt, it's not my favourite arc. I think that award still goes to the Rings arc from volume 6, so I guess it's as good as any for an end. Because there's not a lot of room to be creative with the ending without having an unsatisfying ending. Speaking of ending, we're finally here, chapter 41, the last chapter of Citrus. A lot of emotion running rampant for this one, fellas. Readers who have been keeping up to date would have been waiting almost all of 2018 to see this finale. So am I expecting a lot? Yes, I am. Chapter 41 picks up straight off the previous cliffhanger, and we had to see Mei and Yuzu in the same panel again after an agitating wait. I feel that Mei, even up to the end, was a bit hard to understand. She has her reasons for sacrificing their relationship, but I think this chapter's argument with her was worded a bit oddly in a way that if you didn't remember her having to inherit the Aihara Academy, you'd probably be a bit lost as to why Mei is saying these things. It's an important context and odd that it wasn't exactly brought up explicitly again, giving an impression that Mei is just forcing drama for the sake of a dramatic final arc. My other big concern is that the solution to the problem feels rushed. I absolutely enjoy the idea of Yuzu blurting out "marry me" because that's just such a typical Yuzu thing. But what I mean is there aren't enough pages dedicated to this. Sure, the argument leading up to the point wasn't the most coherent, but I would have liked a few pages after Yuzu's proposal of something such as Mei in tears, saying as a full tsundere, like Baka Yuzu, or something else to just show a different side to Mei, a more happy and exposed side to her. That would have been great final character development. Those montage panels towards the end worked better than I expected. That quick snappy tone delivered nice little comedy. My favourite part of this chapter, however, was small in the grand scheme of things, but it addresses one of the biggest flaws with Citrus. Mei pushes Yuzu down to tell her, "I love you," but immediately apologises and says, saying that while being forceful doesn't really get the meaning across, right? It's a big moment as it's the first time Mei has said "I love you" and made her feelings clear. That's important. However, I love her apology afterwards. Back at the start of the series, everything between Yuzu and Mei was forceful, but with this acknowledgement, Mei understands that there's more to love than being physical, and that her past actions were wrong. Although it probably won't stop anyone from feeling uncomfortable reading those first few volumes, it does give much needed context. And if Saburo Uta never intended for that type of stuff to garner negative attention, maybe it's also an apology. And finally, who could forget the fact that Yuzu and Mei ended up actually marrying? Happy ending as intended, although I do wish they drew it out longer. As I've been saying, it's been a long arc and the payoff could have been more rewarding. I know that I've been sounding negative about this chapter, but that doesn't stop me from enjoying the chapter and Citrus on a whole. I criticize it because I like Citrus, and seeing Saburo Uta's development as a writer. In the end, I'm glad these characters found happiness, and they're characters I've enjoyed spending time with over these years. So that's Citrus done and dusted. But hold on, what's this? Citrus Plus? A spin-off manga announced for a winter 2018 release. Well, it seems like me and Citrus are not parting ways anytime soon. Apparently it's going to have more of a focus on the side characters, which is great since Citrus has such a lovable cast. If that's the case, without a doubt, we'll be seeing Yuzu and Mei again, and I can't wait to see what their married life is like. So I am definitely excited about this, seeing how a more experienced Saburo Uta can build upon her established characters and explore them in ways we haven't seen yet. Thanks for watching. I would have stopped talking about Citrus once it ended, but with this announcement, rejoice Citrus fans. You can expect at least another video in the future. In the meanwhile, I'll try to get more general anime, manga, maybe video game content out there if I have any time off from life. So if you're interested, please subscribe, and until then, have a nice day.